In September of 2001, there were the attacks in New York City on 9/11, and Nathan hadn't started school that morning, and he came running upstairs, and having my American background, I just was very, very distraught. Of course, at first I was upset by the potential for a large loss of life, but I also knew in the hours and days following that the United States was going to be very, very, very mad, and there was going to be some big payback sometime. And I had a terrible premonition that it was going to be something bad for our family, and all this eventually came down the road years later on a battlefield in Afghanistan.
Corporal Nathan Hornburg was killed in Afghanistan 10 years ago today while serving with C Squadron Lower Strathcona's Horse Road Canadians. He was killed by enemy fire while assisting in the recovery of a damaged Canadian tank.
September 24th was a Monday evening, and I came home and I was going to have a glass of wine. And I was facing my counter in my kitchen. I had the wine there, and my doorbell rang.
That was a rough go. That was in the first month we were over there. We were again going down our old friend, the Arghandab River. It was our task to be a feint. They were going to put a police substation in one day. Our job was to attract as much attention as we possibly could. Bang a garbage can and have everybody run to us while they set up this police substation off elsewhere. Needless to say, we succeeded. That day, my tank on its own engaged no less than 5 RPG gunners and a mortar team. And we got to just about the point where we were supposed to start making a lot of ruckus down at the bottom of the river, and everybody would have been drawn to us. One of our tanks tossed a track. And the ARV that we had with us was trying frantically to try and get it going.
Nathan went out on every mission. He drove what is called the ARV, is the acronym. It's an armored recovery vehicle. It's a Leopard tank that instead of a cannon on the front, it has a crane. So he went to pull the Leopard tank into a position where they could break down the track and to get it back on there. And while he was doing this, the track came off of his armored recovery vehicle. And so they had 2 tanks in a position where they were immobile.
We had been in this one spot in the river for probably the better part of an hour, hour and a half, and we had attracted enough attention that we had some foreign fighters engaging us, and they weren't using RPGs. We were being engaged with recoilless rifle. We were being engaged with some RPGs, but they were limiting their shots at us. They were trying to hit us with some sort of mobile recoilless rifle. At the end of the day, we had all the tanks starting to get hit. We were starting to get into some dire straits, and it was about that point that a truly fluky shot happened. The ARV was hit with a recoilless rifle, and that's when Nathan Hornburg was killed.
This shot had come in at a crazy angle on the front of the tank, and it sheared off one of the bolts. And the bolt came through and hit Nathan in the heart. He died instantly from a single wound.
He was the first tank crewman killed in a combat role in a tank since Korea.
For a moment, maybe that premonition came all back. I did not want to go to the door. But, of course, I did. And I opened the door, and there were 3 dress uniform Canadian Forces officers there, and I knew in that instant. And I talked to my son just, you know, not even 24 hours before that. And then he was gone forever. And a glass of wine sat untasted on my counter for days until I headed to Toronto to be driven out to the airport base and escort Nathan back. I'm just really so proud that my son served in that type of organization with those kind of people. The soldiers he served with, they come down on the anniversary of his death every year to Nanton and they help out on the ranch. They've just been remarkable people. Even after they've retired, they fly in from all over the country to be there.
What's the one main thing that you want people to take away from Nathan's example and his story?
In one word, peace. In order to work together to make a better place to live, the most important ingredient to me is peace. And that's what I hope Nathan's legacy helps to inspire in as many people as possible. That he lost his life in the midst of a big battle when he was a soldier, and he was perhaps the least armed person there. He wasn't out there trying to engage anybody in any kind of negative way. So I think my son is a real hero to embody the concept of peace.